News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
And very good morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And this morning, at the start of what will hopefully be a wonderful week for all of us, you, me, and everyone else, we have with us Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. And we'd like to ask Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, what import will the UNHCR co-sponsoring have on Sri Lanka, especially with elections not exactly on the horizon, but actually right next door on the block, Very good morning to you, Mr. Gunawardena.
Good morning, Faraz.
So what's happening with this UNHCR? How important is it for...
UNHCR, of course, we have had the sessions on last week.
Yeah.
And now the key resolutions have been adopted.
Yeah.
Initially and thereafter, there was the Sri Lanka government co-sponsoring a resolution against Sri Lanka.
Right.
These are the prime issue that were debated and which was criticized by many cabinet ministers that they were unaware, including His Excellency the President, of the details. Now we came to final end of the term of the resolution.
Yes.
What did Sri Lanka do? Sri Lanka criticized, but the ambassador was advised to sign up for the resolution's extension. By whom?
By whom? That's
By
the
whom?
question.
This is a serious crisis because an outside advisor, we all know the name, Mano Tittavala, had advised. Go ahead, sign up the resolution to extend against Sri Lanka.
Right.
If the president of the country said it is not the thinking of the presidency. The president appoints ambassadors.
Right.
President appoints high commissioners to represent the country. So apparently this matter had not been taken up for discussion, and the courtesy that should have been extended on a very serious matter was totally violated.
Totally violated.
Then goes a special delegation that the president himself had intervened to send to Geneva.
Yeah.
Foreign Minister Amunagama, the Northern Governor, and the ambassador. The Foreign Minister reads a criticism of the resolution by Sri Lanka and allows the resolution to be passed with Sri Lanka's not showing Sri Lanka's dissent, while all other countries which had opportunity of signing up with the resolution, especially Asian countries, our neighbor India, Pakistan, Asia and African countries, did not subscribe to this. So there is a major contradiction in our international and foreign affairs, plus the foreign affairs ministry.
Right.
I feel the foreign affairs ministry has collapsed, or it has got the disease that has set the whole country in a crisis, and the constitutional battle between the president and the prime minister. This is what we are involved. But when it comes to international affairs, we should have stuck and said, look, this is over.
Yeah.
We have gone through, your numbers are wrong, your basis is wrong. You are proved to be wrong because Lord Nesby, addressing the House of Lords, who had the information of all documents in the British Foreign Service that had been submitted by their special advisor in Colombo.
Right. You talk about the
40,000 figure is wrong.
40,000 is wrong.
Figure is wrong.
Yeah.
That is the British reality and the information and the data available in the British Foreign Office. Why didn't Sri Lanka?
Yes, but Mr. Dinesh, I put it to you that even one, if the figure was only one, isn't it one too many?
One too many should be taken to task.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka can take it to task. You don't need an international resolution against Sri Lanka, and the jurisdiction that they are canvassing today, and the threat of blockade for Sri Lanka, all that which Sri Lanka has gone through the last few years, after defeating terrorism, the call of the international community after 9/11, Faraz, was defeat terrorism. 9/11 in New York, where New York was attacked, was defeat terrorism. Sri Lanka is the only country that defeated Sri Lanka, totally defeated terrorism. Now Sri Lanka has been taken to task on false figures, all fabricated in order to scuttle the process that we are in reconciliation.
So what are you saying? Have they done this deliberately so that they can continue to have international support, especially with, as I keep saying, the elections are not around the corner, but it's actually next door at the next block?
Elections could be any day, even tomorrow, if the president decides. I call the presidential election. It could be tomorrow because it is his prerogative now till November.
You're talking about the presidential election?
Presidential.
Yes.
Definitely, this is an extended term where the Sri Lankan government is cooperating with the European community or some other European countries to get the resolution extended so that our national independence, sovereignty can be interfered with under this clause.
How important is this for the electorate?
Election, obviously, not only election, it could be important that intervention in various forms, threat of various forms could come on Sri Lanka to the voters, to the political leaders, political parties. Whether they are established or not, it could become indirect way of trying to influence the election campaign and election process.
And Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, what is worrying your mind in these recent days? What else is worrying your mind apart from the UNHCR business?
Faraz, UNHCR affects all around, not only our international affairs, not only our security, the economy too. Because the economy depends today, this government depends on foreign investors, foreign borrowing, for which they are canvassing all around. Because they don't know what is coming next. Warnings are there, so the economy and the financial crisis that has hit us is the most important that we should consider. There is a budget that is going on in Parliament. Even the MPs are not interested, you see. They are not in Parliament. That is what Parliament has come to today. Because even parliamentarians of the government, opposition, do not believe the government.
But the government is trying their best to increase the size of the cabinet, even though the president made his decision a couple of months ago.
The preoccupation is to increase the officers and the plums of office for politicians. They have failed. 4 years, they have failed.
Have you ever been asked to make a paradigm shift away from your traditional home, your traditional stance, and to join Mr. Wickremesinghe and others?
Mr. Wickremesinghe has failed as Prime Minister.
Has he failed to ask you whether you want to join?
I don't know whether he would ever want to ask me, that is another question. But I have been one of the pioneers who opposed this government. 2015, that they're going in the wrong way and we will collapse as a country, nationally, our international respect that we had won, and day-to-day life of the people. and the Nugegoda 2015 February 18th movement, when no one was able to stand up, we stood up.
But internationally, a lot's gone up, hasn't it, since the day and age of your government, where you were part of that government?
How can we weigh that our respect has gone up? I mean, it can be weighed in many ways. One could be recognition, but recognition no one did. None of the countries did break relations with Sri Lanka. They were critical. I mean, anywhere it is a situation. If India and Pakistan gets involved in a conflict, they would all condemn. So Sri Lanka was also condemned, not knowing the correct situation that happened, or not being given the chance to independently decide, because they are all surrounded and canvassed heavily by the diaspora for the re-election of those governments. This is one of the factors which Sri Lanka governments have not understood. There is a
when you all were in power, it appeared that the international community were rather upset with the Rajapaksa administration.
International community initially and halfway hoped that there could be a confederation Sri Lanka, a breakup of the unitary state, and where they could also play a role perhaps with the LTTE. But with the sacrifice of our forces, and as I mentioned before, after 9/11, international community realized terrorism is going beyond any serious consideration for democratic solution.
Sorry, I just wanted to move on to another subject, which again, the government of your time as well is involved in, was involved in, and that is the return, or what the Prime Minister says is his hope, that EPF will return to the stock market. Now, I don't know about you, but to me that sends shivers down the whole spine, because in the previous government, the EPF funds were used in a big way to invest in the stock market. So there's an argument for that as well. But we have to remember that during that period, we had something called the pumping and dumping scandal, where stocks soared to record levels without any rationality whatsoever. One can say it's market sentiment, because that's the way it is. If the stocks are going up, everyone wants to get a piece of the action. But when and there was one name amongst others, and that was Aloysius. Then we had this situation in 2015, and that name again, Aloysius, and we had what the Attorney General described as the greatest fraud ever perpetrated on the public post-independence. Now, with the elections not around the block, but around the corner, but actually next door, the next block, we have this move. So you can understand my sort of concern that once again something untoward will happen to the people's monies.
Very much. It is the people's money. It is the monies of working people of the country. By law, by statute, that is has to be deposited with the EPF. And EPF, the central bank is the custodian and the government the guarantor. What are we trying to play with the largest, if we say that this is the largest, biggest bank of our country?
But why is the Prime Minister meddling in something that is patently, A, he doesn't appear to know, B, or he knows, because in Parliament he said Does anybody know about bonds? That was on the 17th of March 2015. Giving the impression A, that he knew, or B, that he didn't know, and he'd asking his colleagues if they knew. But several of his colleagues made hundreds of phone calls to this same name that I've just mentioned, Aloysius. And, I didn't see your name receiving or making calls to Mr. Aloysius or his people, but several did. So you can understand our concern. It's
obviously for us it is a very serious and national issue.
Right.
As you mentioned, the Attorney General has commented, but what has the Attorney General done? Pretty slow in his movement.
Right.
Pretty slow, his department moved fast, but suddenly the movement started going slowly. It is very much today today in the news that the president's when he mentioned, I told the Singapore government.
Yeah.
Singapore government says, no, we have not been told. So Attorney General's department should be the department that should answer this. Why they have not taken action?
Yes, why haven't they taken action?
Now, as you mentioned, 2015 was the so-called change, where the Prime Minister took office with only having 45 members of Parliament.
Yeah.
Luckily, there was no speaker to tell him, you cannot come into Parliament as Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Like the speaker today who told Prime Minister Rajapaksa, who had 106, saying he can't come to Parliament. That's another mention.
Yeah.
Why? Then the whole issue of the bond scandal came.
Yeah.
The central bank virtually the bond scandal was raised in Parliament.
Right.
Luckily, that was raised and there was a COPE committee appointed. I don't want to go step by step. Knowing elections are around the corner, this happened. This happened, the UNP government did get involved, it's very clear now. UNP hierarchy did get involved in this wrong decision with these companies.
Right.
That benefited immensely, virtually becoming the greatest central bank robbery in our country. Now again we come to elections.
Yeah.
And in a moment we can have elections or the presidential election. Once again, the same parties want to be invited again to tap on the EPF, the biggest bank, unofficially it is the biggest bank fund.
Yes, the largest liquid fund.
Deposit fund, which has to be guaranteed by the state because the Act provides that the guarantee is by the state. Sampath Bank, the guarantee is not by the state, it's a private bank. There could be 21 banks.
Yeah.
But here, it is an average working man's money from the top executive right down.
Yeah.
This is what they take after retirement. We can't play with this. This is the issue. How can we put EPF funds to a stock market which cannot guarantee a return?
But the same thing happened previously.
What I'm saying is, if there is no guaranteed return, EPF funds should not be touched. We are in a situation where the government is going begging in order to pay their debts. Today, serious situation. I mean, I don't blame the Honorable Prime Minister. He has failed. He is, as you say, he's trying to get another 10 or 12 as ministers just to go before the elections and survive. They have no policy of bringing the country out for the private sector. Forget the state sector, which have been ruined. Even the private sector, they have no confidence. There are no private investors coming except for Volkswagen, which came, and now we have enough Volkswagens running.
We'll come back to that. We're going to take a very quick break. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back. to Newsline. We are in conversation with Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. I was going to ask you about this business. Here we have an odd situation. There are many odd things happening in Parliament, apart from the chili throwing and the chairs being dismantled.
Cocaine allegations.
Apparently cocaine allegations. I've already asked you whether you have a preference for cocaine. And
I don't know what this dangerous substance is.
Right.
I told the speaker, why don't you clear the parliamentarians of this? The speaker says, I'm helpless.
Why is he helpless?
He is helpless because he says, I'm helpless. I don't know what to do. That is the reaction.
Well, we'll leave the speaker alone, shall we?
Better.
Now we have this other situation where the name involved here is Abraham Sumandiran, M.A. Sumandiran. Right? Now then, the TNA is sort of in bed with the government. They're supporting the government. And yet, he says that they should go to the ICC, that he'll go to the ICC. He's threatening them. But it's a mismatch. On the one side you're with them, and on the other side you're saying all these things. And who says that he is the representative of the sole representative of the Tamil people? How do you take this?
Faraz, I think that either the claim of being the sole representative of the Tamil people, that has eroded away. So many political parties have emerged in the north and the east, Tamil political parties. TNA has suffered defeat in the local government elections. New groups have emerged. So the sole representative claim is over. But TNA is moving with the UNP for its political security. And they have been moving with the UNP government, being with the government for 4 years, plus before the last 4 years too. So TNA is virtually, in most of the aspects, voicing, maybe they show that it's a different view, but it is the view of the government too.
There's several questions I need to ask you, and there's so many questions. Sorry, but there seems to have been a problem with the connection, and the message is only coming now. One says the international community still doesn't like MR. There were many ministers involved in the pumping and dumping scandal, and the Attorney General is not doing much. He's actually not doing anything about Mr. Mahendran. Our President has become the spokesperson for the entire nation and making a plea to the Prime Minister of Singapore. But he's not being backed by his Attorney General, who are being wishy-washy about this whole thing. And no doubt Zulfik's phone will ring later on, complaining about what I'm saying. But that's how it is. That's how I see it. Right? Now, I want to ask you something in the last 5 minutes of the program. Yesterday, there was an event. I'm not talking about a birthday. Right? I'll ask you later whether you went for the birthday bash. But I want to ask you whether you believe that the government of Oman is in the refinery project.
No, very clearly the government of Oman and Oman Refinery Petroleum Company has said they are not involved in the announcement, and the understanding that was announced by submission to cabinet by cabinet.
But there was a minister present there from Oman.
They are interested in a refinery. They are interested in investment to Sri Lanka. That have been there for right along. There have been the project of the refinery, Faraz. So many Sri Lankan private sector was promoting in order to establish the refinery for the last 10 years. I know in Ambantota.
Yeah.
So this is a key project.
But he said he's excited about this project.
Obviously, anyone would say, an investor or anyone thinking or proposing or considering investing in Sri Lanka would have an open mind and open statement. But the thing is whether the cabinet paper was correct or not. Can you mislead cabinet? This is the major problem. What was submitted in the cabinet paper happened to be wrong. What was announced happened to be wrong. So thereafter trying to patch up or bring them round. It's like the port city and Hambantota agreement with China. You first condemn or try to mislead them, and then you go begging and say, we are sorry, please come with us. Again, we are in the same situation with Oman.
What are you all doing about this? Because this is a question somebody's asking. What kind of action is the opposition, what kind of agitation is the opposition doing on the bond scam? After Syriza did the needful and put it all out in the open.
I agree that the Syriza.
But do you just feel that because Syriza has done this, all the votes are going to pop into your lap?
Not so, but the opposition has been spearheading this campaign in Parliament. I myself raised the issue in May
The Parliament is only
2015. I must tell you,
Yeah.
I asked the straight question from the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Why are you appointing this person who had a very bad record? And
You asked him.
yes, it's in Hansard, and the reply he gave is that he has trust. Now, does he take full responsibility?
When was this? When did you ask him this?
In May 2015, soon after the second bond scan.
Right.
But we continued the agitation and intervened so that he was not reappointed as central bank governor. So opposition has been continuing. Today we are a strong opposition, and strong opposition must play a bigger role in all these aspects because we are the shadow government.
Now then, back to Hambantota now. Oman is interested in supplying crude, and in that connection is interested because they have crude, and somebody is opening a refinery somewhere, God knows where, in a little place called Mirijavila. All right, so clearly they're interested in. They're interested. It's another place, one more place for them to sell their crude to. So they're interested, but they are like, if you like, a kind of a silent partner. But so
In a joint venture.
not really. It's not a joint venture. I mean, you can, I have a product, and some of the raw material, somebody wants to supply it.
Yeah, so I mean very, very good. We must appreciate Oman, where Sri Lankans have been working for a very long time and bringing foreign exchange to our country.
Right.
Oman has been having good relations with Sri Lanka.
Yes.
No issue with Oman. We will support Oman or any other, any of such good investment if it is truthfully explained to the country by the government. But the whole issue is that this government transparency, and what they submit to cabinet seems to be not the correct information.
Was there transparency in the port city?
Port city, the same issue has come up. We do not know exactly what is now going to happen.
No, no.
There are agreements.
I just want to ask you this: is Newsfirst?
Newsfirst.
Are we wrong in exposing corruption?
Not at all. I mean, corruption.
When we were ignored and not given business opportunities. I might as well say that to you because we're a big group, right? So I'll just say it out up front. Our business has been affected. You talk to anybody.
Not media business.
No, but what do you mean the media business? God knows how much this business has cost us just to put out this blessed fraud out.
Correct.
The greatest fraud in Sri Lanka.
Tell the country what really happening.
Yes, I mean,
for which we have all respect for you all, no issue at all.
But were we wrong in doing this?
No,
thing,
not
in
at all.
corruption, exposing it?
Not at all. Corruption and waste, the biggest problem of our country today.
Yeah.
Whatever we borrow, whatever we invest, whatever we spend, corruption and waste.
I met somebody yesterday and they said to me, why aren't you not talking about the corruption in the previous government, meaning the government in which you were part of?
Yes, yes.
Right? So, and now I have a question that says, what transparency did we have in the last government? Why did you keep quiet? That's the question.
I have not kept quiet, but that's why I mentioned that corruption and waste is almost 40%. It was recorded by international agencies. We are between 35 to 40%.
And
the biggest
problem.
problem.
In your time as well?
Obviously, during our time also the waste and corruption did take place. That is a issue of mismanagement of the system. But the system you cannot change overnight. System you cannot change. So we should give attention to an overall change in the system, not only passing legislation.
So will you very, very quickly, must be the last question I think, very quickly, would you back and call for, especially with elections at the next block, right, as I say?
Around the corner.
Around the corner. Would you back calls for immediate introduction, like on an emergency basis, of an act to control campaign finance or Political Donations Act?
It should come. The Commission of Elections should present it to Parliament, announce it and present, which has not happened. They have brought some regulations which have been lying in the order paper, I think, for more than a year.
Asset declarations?
Asset declarations are.
Have you declared?
It's a mandatory thing, no asset declaration. When
you're not interested
from the
in
time
putting
of
your one
candidature.
public?
Anyway, anyone can take it.
But we can't use it.
No, you can take it with 15 rupees stamp.
Yes, I know, but I can't use it thereafter.
No, you can. Now there are no regulation to say you can't. It
So
is
I can
available
publish
to the public from the
Can
day we
I
have.
publish it?
You can. All the 225.
Maxwell, get this on tape.
Yes, get
Mr.
all the
Dinesh Gunawardena
225.
says I can use it.
Yes.
So I'm going to get yours
Why
and I'm
not?
going to publish it.
Why not use? You can publish. And then there are no regulation to stop it.
I see.
If you can get it, you can publish under the Information Act.
Right.
Why are we?
Or under the RTI.
Yeah, why are we not doing it? I mean, it is maybe the speaker should release it. What is asking for 15 rupees stamp? Speaker should release the whole thing.
But you know when you say that Newsfirst, you're very appreciative of our efforts and all that. But when we did the same thing in the last government, we were called terrorists.
Yeah, very dangerous, because now again, you might be not called terrorists, you might be
Do you believe that
taken as terrorists, because the media is also in the bill of counter-terrorism that have been presented by the government.
Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, the last question, because otherwise they chop me off. The last question is, do you think that we are terrorists here at Newsfirst?
Not at all. Not at all. I have never made any such statement. It is a very serious
No, I didn't say
statement
you,
for
right.
an Attorney General. First must clearly define what terrorism is. If the Attorney General's department is confused in the wording of terrorism, what can you expect from politicians? Faraz, what can you expect from politicians?
Well, Dinesh Gunawardena, Member of Parliament, long-serving as well. Thank you very much for coming on Newsline. We appreciate it. And apparently now that you live closer, we can expect to see you more on our network.
Closer, I mean, not in government quarters.
No, privately, but still, you're nearby.
Nearby.
It's a bit different from coming from
Easy to overcome the traffic problem.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That's the way it was on Newsline.
Thank you.
We wish you a great and wonderful week ahead. Take care. God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.